Right, I've been meaning to do this video for a little while. I'll have to be quick. It's Sunday. I've not long finished work and I'm going to go for a quick pint before my dinner's ready. So, a few people have been asking me about SBR. I use it every day. And your questions like, should we use PVA or SBR and how do you mix it and all the rest of it. So, this is the SBR that I use. Now, the short answer is, if you're in a rush and you don't want to watch the whole video, then I'll just tell you quickly. The short answer is, yeah, go and buy some SBR, paint it on neat. You can skim over it within about 10 minutes. If you leave it to dry and skim over it the next day, that's fine as well. It doesn't matter. So there's your answer. Away you go. Now, the long explanation is, for years, I was taught using PVA glue and we would mix it. Not what the recommendations are. The recommendation is you do, a mix 1/4 to 1 PVA, 4 parts water, 1 part PVA, paint that on first as like a primer, and then it's like flipping 2 parts, flipping water, 1 part, whatever. We used to mix it 50-50. We'd mix PVA, half and half of water, paint it on 1 coat, and skim over it when it's sort of gone off. And then we tried blue grit, that was fine. There's all different ones. There's Thistle Bondit, there's Becto Contact by Knauf, there's Plast Prime, there's all different flipping weird and wonderful sealers that you can use with grit in them. Hey, me old fella, my dad, he used to put sand in his PVA glue. So he'd mix it up, you have to keep stirring it and painting it on, and he put all these bits of orange, red builder's sand in it, and he liked doing it. How much use it was, I don't know. But anyway, SBR. I seen a good few years ago, fellas were using SBR. And they were putting it, they were using it as a sealer. They were putting it in the PVA glue and all sorts of different things. And I didn't know what to do with it. I'd never used it before. So I started mixing it half and half with my PVA glue. And it worked wonderfully. It was fantastic. If you're skimming over bare plaster walls with no paint on, let me turn this light out with it. It's a bit better. If you're skimming over bare plaster walls and you put some SBR in your PVA glue, then it's really going to kill the suction right off, So that's quite nice. And then we used to do all sorts of funny concoctions. I was mixing like a bit of blue grit so you could see where you'd painted it on, So we'd get some PVA glue, I'd pour some SBR in 50-50, and then so the lad who's painting it on could see where he's been. We put some blue grit in as well, so it had a bit of a colour to it so he could see, But then all the mixing ratios, we're getting a bit out of control, and you've got to sort of try and keep it simple when you've got a simple lad working for you. Don't tell him I said that. So, anyway, one day we've turned up on a job, and this is a couple of years back, and we've realised that we've got no PVA glue, and we've got no blue grit either. All we've got is SBR. So we've ended up painting the SBR on, and I'm waiting for it to go tacky, because in my mind, the way PVA glue works is PVA is water-based, you see. You paint the PVA glue on the wall, and it says skim over and it's tacky, but it doesn't really matter with PVA glue if it sets, because the minute you get it wet, it goes back tacky again. You can test that yourself. So when you put the plaster on the wall, the PVA glue behind it is basically going tacky and gluing the plaster to the wall. That's, so in my mind, that's how it works. Now, the thing with SBR is it's not water-based. It's basically, it's a rubber. The R in the SBR stands for rubber. So once that's set, it's basically waterproof, and that's why you use it for tanking and stuff. So I never really wanted to use SBR just on its own, because my thought was it's going to be like, once it's set, it's like glass, and the plastic can just sort of pop back off it again. So anyway, this one day we used this SBR neat on its own, and it went tacky, and I skimmed it. And the other walls that It sort of dried in by then. The second half of the day, like on the second mix. And I just took a chance because we didn't have nothing else with us, and we were out in the sticks, we were miles away from anywhere, so I skimmed over them. And it seemed to be all right, it was fine. And we went back the next day and I checked, and the walls were spot on. So then, we just carried on using SBR. And it's been fine. Now, I don't understand the chemistry of it. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just being 100% honest with you. I don't know how that works, because in my mind, if I skim over a flipping plastic door that's waterproof and you bang the door, the flipping plaster is going to shell off, right? Same with a bit of glass. Anything that's sort of like sealed, plaster doesn't really adhere very well to it. Apart from this stuff, it seems to adhere better. So I did a bit of a test when I had a bit more time, and I painted some PVA glue on the wall, and I painted some SBR, and I left them to dry. And the next day I put a little test patch on each one, and I belted it with the hammer. And the one on PVA come off easier. The one on SBR stayed relatively stuck quite well. I mean, I was smashing it with a hammer, So again, I don't understand how that works, because that completely seals it. But the reason I'm telling you this is so that you know SBR is a superior product. It's better than PVA glue. It kills the suction far better. Now, if you've ever skimmed over Carlite finish, which is like the grey plaster, you'll know that sucks like a fucker. It is horrendous to sort of plaster over. Even with PVA glue, you give it like 5 bloody coats and it's still drying your plaster out. SBR, 1 coat, let it dry, and it does the job amazing, So that's all we use day in, day out, and I've been doing that for 2 years now. Over 2 years. Flipping heck, it might be 3 years. Today's date is the 11th of the 12th, 2022. And I started using this stuff neat about a year before COVID struck the whole of the world. So I think that's probably about 3 years now. Never had the callback, never had a problem. Sticks better. So the long answer is, you can use SBR neat on its own. You don't have to put PVA glue over the top of it to help the plaster stick. It sticks better just to the SBR. You can skim over it almost straight away, because it dries faster than PVA glue. You put your PVA glue on sometimes on silk paint and you're sitting there for hours waiting for it to go off. This doesn't. Give it half an hour and that's dried. People say it's expensive, but it's very thin stuff, when you put it on your roller it goes quite far. So yeah, you can paint the whole house, you can go back a week later and skim it, and it's absolutely fine. It kills suction dead. Some plasterers like a bit of suction because it helps the gear set a bit faster on the wall if you've only got a little bit to do. I personally have fairly big mixes, I'll put 3 or 4 bags on a gauge just by myself. So I don't struggle with it, and if I do a little patching job and I want it to go off faster, I use plaster accelerator half time. Let me see if I've got some to show yet. This stuff, you don't have to buy a box of it, you can buy these little bags. I use that, you see, so I don't really rely on the suction. I just throw some of that in and I can basically make a patch set in 15 minutes I can do it in 5 minutes if I really need to get to the pub fast. So anyway, hope that clears it up. I'll use PVA glue if the builder's painted it on, or I don't know, if someone's done it previously and I've got to go and skim it. But otherwise, every job that I go and prep, I use SBR. This is bonded. I buy in bulk. I've got about 50 tubs of this stuff down here. But I've used all different brands. It's all the same gear. It doesn't really matter which one you get. It all works great. So yeah, hope that clears it up for you guys. You can use SBR. You can go over it when it's tacky. You can leave it till the next day. You don't have to put PVA in it. You don't have to do anything. You can just use it straight away. That rhymed. It's like I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. I'm going for the pint. Cheers.